As a fan of pop music, it's really interesting to see an act who has such a meteoric rise to the top, yet remains so under the radar while still managing to impact the direction of modern pop so pervasively. The 1975 released their self-titled debut album September 2013, but their ambient sound and penchant for lyrics that sound as if they're ripped from the diary of a high schooler still profoundly influence the music we hear on the radio. They've amassed somewhat of a cult following and online internet culture, with the upstart of Tumblr catching on around the same time as their first album. There's just something so sympathetic about listening to an ethereal bop describing what it's like to be a better partner to someone but it being forbidden. This tragedy and mood is something that the band often relishes in. In an interview with Atwood magazine, Matt Healy, the band's frontman, says, "We became lost in making ambient music before we really knew how to write songs, and so by the time we honed in and become meticulous at writing songs, we already had a sonic element that we knew we wanted to keep, which was the ethereal kind of shininess to it, which is kind of ambient, big soundscape parts surrounding simple pop ideas. It's apparent that the group develops music in an interesting fashion, developing the sound first and supplying lyrics that fit, similar to the alt-rock band Soundgarden." Healy goes on to say that the group tries to capture an essence of a song rather than the entire message. What's interesting about this approach is that from an outset, it can make their music seem rather hollow, similar to a beatnik getting tatted up with art that looks cool rather than having interpersonal meaning. But somehow, this hollowness is what makes the band so unique and only adds to their rabid fan appeal. But how can a group have such a distinct sound and message that's carried throughout all of their songs find a fan base without a clear inspiration besides finding a type of sound they like? Think in terms of the fame-era Lady Gaga, but less pop-sounding. They have a number of singles that display catchy hooks such as Chocolate or teenage desperation like Sex. But none of these songs encapsulate what the 1975's underlying message as a band is quite like their song Robbers. At its surface, the song just sounds like a troubled romance wherein lovers who aren't good for each other beg each other to stay out of comfort. For example, in the chorus, Healy pleads, "I'll give you one more time, we'll give you one more fight, said one more lie, it'll be alright, 'cause I know you." What lies beneath the surface of this simple-sounding 80s rock ballad is actually a palpable ride-or-die romance between two lovers at its most politically incorrect. The song begins with a soaring guitar riff that elevates what could have been a throwaway track into something special. Seemingly infinite-sounding and ethereal, it alone captures the essence of the 1975. Slow, melancholic, and in a strange sense, hopeful. But the lyrics begin with a common theme that the 1975 utilizes in many of their songs. She had a straight she had a face straight out of a magazine. God only knows, but you'll never leave her. In this world Healy's created, he's found a beauty so inhuman that she had to have come out of an idealistic place. This line gets a callback in the song Change of Heart from their second album, I Like It When You Sleep For You're So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, which is markedly more somber in tone. Change of Heart is a sequel song in sense to Robbers, as it directly states, "You used to have a face out of a magazine, but now you just look like anyone," suggesting that even though these two lovers were enraptured with each other, that kind of fire can't burn forever. I think enrapturing is the perfect word to describe not only Robbers, but also the accompanying music video I'd be remiss not to talk about. The video is a literal interpretation of the lyrics inspired by the film True Romance, which in turn is inspired by ardent romances like Bonnie and Clyde. The couple is Healy himself and a prostitute who fall in love and rob a store to fuel their drug habit. What's interesting about the video is not the storyline itself, but the way that it's shot. In film, there's a concept called framing. It can be used to give a visual shorthand to an audience to convey a deeper message. For example, if someone was filmed from an upward angle, it can make them seem imposing, powerful, or sinister even. The music video is almost always poised on the couple in the dead center of the shot, giving each of them a clear silhouette, and really lets us as an audience focus on the negative space, or lack thereof, between them. It truly feels like nothing can come between their love, and the two of them are so passionate about each other in spite of such dingy, isolated circumstances. Really, their love is the only thing in the universe to them. That, in essence, is what Robbers is about. An incomparably passionate love that burns hot enough to last. Essentially, the ideal of their 17-year-old female audience who most likely hasn't experienced such passion. The concept of sticking around for one more fight because they know if they do hang around, it'll end up being a riot is a powerful concept. The 1975 also make no pretense about this. The group has an entire sense of genuine sincerity that permeates throughout all of their music. But this song in particular makes no qualms about romanticizing passion and crime. In the world they've created, these two things are completely intertwined. The lyric, "Now if you never shoot, you never know," cleverly expresses this sentiment, evoking the image of a gun, a powerful and dangerous thing you can't really grasp until you have one, but also the sentiment expressing desperation in begging a lover to stay despite things not being the best. If you don't give me a shot, you'll never know what you're missing out on. Wordplay like that is something they're pretty keen on. They may not be wordsmiths, but they are able to evoke strong feelings within the words they actually do manage to weave. After the robbery has gone awry, they have a lyric that undermines their idea of this perfect romance, but they quickly reinforce their ideals with the succeeding line. But if you just take off your mask, you'd find out that everything's gone wrong, which is then underscored by the line, she says, "Babe, you look so cool." The very real threat of danger and fear isn't any concern of hers. She's with him, and he looks cool. And that's enough for them. After they rob the bank and potentially eat each other of their happiness, as that's also the double meaning behind the title, there's no worries about the future. They're just together in this moment, and she doesn't say she loves him or what they did was amazing. She thinks he looks cool. Not beautiful or anything, just cool. And that's why I think this song is the cornerstone of the band's discography. It's emblematic of them as a band, really. There's a striking passion and sincerity to Robbers. They're capable of conjuring up feelings of love, regret, and danger, but in the end, everything's alright because they look cool. And that, in essence, is the 1975's MO. They make music for the sound, not the lyrical content. That's an afterthought and is as hollow as it can sometimes sound. But when they transport you to somewhere else with their poppy hooks and 80s influenced Technicolor sound, they look so cool.